So let me tell you a story about how I learned to build emotions as an adult.
Cannot wait.
Man, turn your volume up out there if you're listening. This should be good. This is the online trainer show. Trainer show. Trainer show. This is the online trainer show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
this is what
If you're just tuning into the podcast, I have been virtually poked with a stick at the request of "do something," as the meme, as the popular internet meme. Amber poked me with the virtual stick and said, "Ren, go." So here we are. Here we
do
are.
something
So
funny, Ren.
right, do something funny. Is basically what I've been told, which is not unlike most of my teenage years. So I actually it's very comforting for me. I'm in the states. Amber's in the states. Our in the field correspondent Catalina Belmontes is so dedicated to the field today that she's too far away for us to contact. That's how in the field she is, people. She's so in the field she won't be here today. Um,
And
so
we miss her.
yeah, and
miss her.
we love and miss her.
But she's got some parenting duties that she's got to take care of.
She got some stuff. She's got a thing. I got it. She basically called in. She was like, "Hey, I got a thing. Bada bing, I'm out." And that's what happened. So Amber and I are in the States. Thankfully, for those of you that have been listening to the podcast of the last two episodes, far after the actual electoral process happened in the United States. If you've been following our saga of endless Tuesdays here, the Tuesdays ended. So we can move on with our lives in whatever direction we see fit on this podcast. I'm just glad it's over. Thankfully, no more the mail. Amber, were you getting the mail? Were you getting sent the voting mail? It was
So
just
much.
so much attention, Washington. And I don't mean Washington State. You guys you got rain today. That's all I need to know about Washington State. But attention, Washington D.C. Like, do you just hate trees? Is that what it is? Like, do you feel disrespected by the plush foliage from sea to shining sea here in our country? Because I don't need, maybe the first picture of Donald Trump and Joseph Biden. Here's the guys that are running. Like, I don't need the 30th picture of them. Like, I'm good.
There was that much mail.
It was just that much. It's a
Who was sending? Was each party sending them?
Not only the parties. So you'll get the party, and then you'll get the people who are in some ways affiliated with the party. Okay. And I don't know if it's by demographic, but I was getting stuff like the black choir members who lost their robes last Sunday wanted to send you this special message about voting in this election.
Or basically a bunch of naked black guys.
I mean, just it got down.
Choir members who lost their robes.
Jonathan,
what was that pamphlet, and was it glossy?
It's just it was shiny, and thankfully the light reflected off of it, so I was able to look away. It was
a fine textured mat covering.
just a fine texture. I mean, they went to FedEx Kinko's, like they spent the extra $1 on the better card stock.
Scratch and
sniff. I mean, that's how nuanced these ads. What? That's how nuanced the inundation was. It'll be like soccer moms whose kids play goalie against Joseph Biden. Like what? Like I don't need this deep dive into the into the categorization
on either side, though, right?
Both sides.
Who you support.
Both sides.
We're pretty. I mean, not that we're agnostic here, but we don't promote one side.
We don't promote.
To me, what it seems like, I mean, as you're Canadian, so I'm of course going to Canadian-splain the American election to you. The idea,
right,
of it just being over,
being over,
be such a relief to just about everybody.
Just being over.
Like there's finality, right?
Finality.
No matter which way. Well, I mean, I guess there's not, but there is, right? But
actually,
the idea, yeah, I know. Right? But the idea that both sides kind of know what's up now, we know where we stand.
Generally. I mean, I can't affirm anything that you're saying really because it's the United States. So who knows? But it's
I'm just
kind of sort of
excited.
the
Yeah,
mail has stopped. We can
the
all
mail
agree
has
to
stopped.
that.
Except
That's
I feel
exciting.
like I want to buy a hat and send it to all my American friends that reads "Make politics boring again."
Right.
Make
Right.
policy boring again.
Just yeah, just
Like
make it
nobody,
make
like
it work.
this entire system works because everybody thinks it's too boring to pay attention to.
Right, right. And this
Like that's
and
how it
I
should be.
I'd like to get back to that golden era,
Yeah,
where going to edge. It was just, but in any case, the mail has stopped. We've gotten our quality commercials back. I need to know more about Valtrex, and I need to know to ask my doctor about prescription Noventra or whatever. So we got our pharmaceutical ads back. Funny car commercials. Truck commercials with you know like heavy things dropping into the truck bed, so that it's sturdy. Like it's normalized our television again. So that's good.
yeah. Like,
Um,
can't we just get back to voting for American Idol? Like
right,
that's
right.
what
It's just
Americans should have the responsibility to vote for.
and speaking as an American, it's right at the limit of our level of intellect. Like I know if she nailed that Mariah Carey song or not. Like Trump Biden, do I know what's going on? I don't know what's going on there. And you dive into more local stuff, and we're even more confused because we don't. Nobody's told us who to hate at the local level. So I don't know if I should hate this senator or that senator or this council person. Like there's no Twitter stuff on him. I don't know if he
Right.
had an affair. Like educate me the way I need to be educated as an American. Like that the constituency and policy, yeah, that's all well and good. Like, tell me if this person cheated or not. That's how I need to decide who I'm going to vote for. Don't give me all the details of policy and money stuff. Like, I don't need to know about that stuff. I don't
My
need to know about
favorite,
your
because
track record.
I'm Facebook friends with people on like both sides, right?
Right, right.
And so I mean, I saw it all. I saw, and it was. I was clicking on it because I was like, I want to see more of this. Because for us Canadians, this is just pure entertainment for us Canadians. I mean, it was the best entertainment for like a couple weeks. And so my favorite, like, people were sharing all these like unbelievably biased memes on both sides. My favorite was American Idol can count millions of votes in a commercial break. Why can't the American government figure it out? It's like, how,
Right,
how are you like
right.
believing that this is like some legitimate claim?
It's basically the same thing, Jonathan. It's basically the same thing. Totally legitimate question in my mind. From what I know of
I
the
just couldn't
political
believe it.
process.
I saw that and I'm like, all right, I'm out. I gotta go for a walk right
I'm
now.
thinking I'm thinking we could just text the answer. Yes, no, maybe, check the box.
Yeah,
This thing
right.
could have been over in 24 hours. Um,
Can you imagine how much money the government could make there? It's like 50 cents a text message.
oh, that's good money. That's
Right.
good money,
That's
and it
good money.
simplifies. But you don't get the drama, or I'm sorry, in Canadian drama, you don't get the drama that way. Um,
But it would
you know,
solve a lot of the budget concerns.
yeah, yeah. But I'm quite certain that we could solve a lot of budget problems with our government just by not sending the amount of mail that was sent out over the course
You really
of the last several weeks.
you're
There
really
was
hating on the mail,
trillions of
huh?
dollars of mail that was sent out over the last 2 weeks. You know, maybe a video, nice video. You can download your own video. Go to your website, download the video of them bashing each other. Also a savings, significant savings there. But I digress. We've got a topic today, and I read it. I did read it. Do I know what it is? No. Is that important to me? Yeah. Most of the issue here is going to go with Carolina because she's not here. So my shortcomings are small compared to the fact that she's not available for the podcast. So no, I don't know what the topic is. It looks like Jonathan's perusing through his device to
100%.
yeah to nail down a topic. Um, we feel as a team that is an integral part of the show, for you guys to hear us figure out what the topic is on the show, so that you'll be more emotionally invested in the topic when you arrive at it. we'll all feel like we co-built it together. It's like you're a part of the show now. So this is an interactive process that you don't see on most podcasts, exclusive to the online trainer show. You're welcome, Planet.
And
So
everybody
Jonathan,
else pretends like they actually put all this work into planning it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Like
yeah,
we
it's
did
like,
stuff before. We did more than just show up, maybe.
who are you trying to convince, right?
Right,
Who are you
right.
trying
Yeah,
to convince?
yeah.
What is Amber? What is the topic?
How to help clients when life throws them a curveball.
Okay, so
Oh.
talk to me about that, Amber.
So let me give you guys some backstory insight here. So the plan was that since Keto has feelings, most of us do it here on the podcast. That Jonathan was sort of going to lay out on this one, like he come in and interject with some great commentary. We get on the podcast, and Jonathan realizes abruptly that Keto's not available today.
Yes.
Once notified of that, Amber immediately gets substituted into Catalina's spot because Amber also has feelings. And what you just heard was actually Amber's first introduction to the fact that it's time for her to talk now, which I think that's fitting. It's just karma coming back for her poking me with the proverbial stick and saying, do something funny now, as she hit the record button. So, karma came back strong on you, Amber, and
Yeah, Amber, do something.
yeah, do something,
Do something. Do something.
do feelings,
Do
do
it,
feelings
Amber.
now.
Do something.
Oh God, I don't know what to do with you.
You're welcome.
Have you guys seen the movie Inside Out?
Yes,
I haven't seen any movie ever, so just
Yeah.
ask Ren. He's seen all of them.
How does Ren seen this, not being a parent, and you do have a child and not seen this movie?
Because Ren has seen every single movie
pretty much. I've
ever
seen
somehow. It seems
every
like-
piece of entertainment that's ever been released in North America. I've observed it and memorized it.
So no. So this
but
might
it's-
be an
it's a-
introduction to feelings for you, John.
Right. It's
Inside Out. Okay, I'll make sure to skip that one. Or like sometimes if I want to get like a massage or something, I'll go to Allison and be like, "Hey, do you want to pick the movie tonight?" Because then it distracts her, which is great, which means I get a longer massage. That's the trick. That's when I watch romantic comedies. It's great.
Oh my gosh! Watch our YouTube for more relationship tips.
Yes.
So the reason for that.
Yes, Inside Out.
Yeah, so there's a reason for this movie, right? So the concept of the movie, if you haven't seen it, is a girl who's like 12 and has all these different emotions like in her head. There's anger, disgust, fear, joy, and sadness. And so I think it's actually a really apt movie because like when clients are going through something difficult, especially lately, like 2020 has been a dumpster fire. So like everybody's kind of gone through something or other.
Yeah.
Something I think that a lot of us do is try to cheerlead them out of feeling negative. Like, oh, everything's going to be okay. Or somebody, if they had someone that got sick from COVID or, huge changes in their job or trying to figure out homeschooling for kids or whatever, that a lot of times we try to be so positive that it can become toxic. And so in the movie...
Talk to me about that.
Toxic positivity.
Yes.
So there's a lot of pressure to be okay. And no matter what's going on, like sometimes situations just suck. Like life just sucks sometimes. And if you try to force someone to be okay with it and always look on the bright side, it creates a bad situation for a lot of people. It's mentally not healthy to try to force that.
Is that because, just as I try to understand this more, I like how you guys teach me all these terms. Toxic positivity. Okay. So is that because then you're basically giving people this like additional goal line to reach to?
Yeah, it's just unrealistic standards. Like if your dog died, like there's no like, oh, well, he lived a good long life. Like, yeah, that might be true, but like it sucks. I miss my dog. And I have a hole in my heart, and it's okay to be sad about that. But if you try to force that down,
right,
that's not emotionally or even physically healthy to do.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that.
In the movie, there's a really big thing. There's a character named Bing Bong that my son loves, who gets really sad and he cries candy.
I'm going to name my next child Bing Bong.
You should, Jonathan. It's the only logical choice.
I want to hear you announce that to Allison, please.
She's right here. Allison, can we name our next child Bing Bong? No.
No response.
Oh my god.
Oh no, she said no. She just said it. She's just didn't say it so loud.
I'm sorry.
The answer was no.
Okay.
Go on. Bing bong.
Anyway, so, Bing Bong is crying and he cries candy. And Joy is like trying to toxic positivity, into like get him to do something that she wants him to do, and doesn't want him to feel sad. So she's trying to cheerlead him into doing something. But sadness is doing her job and letting it be okay to be sad. And so I think we kind of need to let that be the case for a lot of our clients sometimes when they are having a tough situation, instead of trying to cheerlead them through it and do the toxic positivity route. Like, give them space to be sad and to be heard. So that way they can process those feelings and continue on. Because once they've had a chance to discuss it or to process and to know that it's okay not to be okay, that helps them far more than trying to cheerlead them into being positive.
100% accurate. So I was introduced to this concept through Girls Gone Strong originally. Um, I have a default setting to happy most of the time. And as a new coach, especially, particularly a new online coach, probably around 2014, because that's when I started online coaching. In the absence of any awareness of PTDC and things like that, it would be my goal to sort of interject that shot of toxic positivity, right? And
because you are such a positive guy. Like you've been through a
I
lot.
try to be.
You've had a lot of very
challenging
negative,
things,
very challenging. Yeah, challenging. I wouldn't say negative. Very challenging things happen to you, and you've risen above it. But yeah,
and the danger in that, to Amber's point, is are you learning a skill set for actually processing the emotion, or are you developing a coping mechanism to suppress the emotion? And that's the fine line of what Amber's talking about here. And I've written that line before. So sometimes it's just like exercise, right? You can't cheat the process. You cannot cheat the process of sadness, because it will compromise results over time. The same way that you cheat the process of exercise, it will compromise the results over time. Can you quickly drop a lot of weight? Yes, but do you end up often compromising muscle? Sure. The same thing with sort of this toxic positivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So making the space for someone to be where they are in that moment and go through the process, it allows you the understanding that when they get to sort of an end portion of that process, you've really gone through all the work. Like, there's not, because you get these residual, right? You say something to it, you repress that ability for the client to process this, and you may say something like, so how did the squats go last week? And they just burst into tears. Billy the dog, like, he used to love it when I did my squat. Like, that's an indication, and I'm being facetious, but in reality, this is how it happens, right? You get these outbursts of emotion that's been bottled. So, to Amber's point, letting the person be sad when they're sad and not trying to cheer them out of it and say, hey, you know what? I've not been through that situation, but I completely understand what you're feeling right now. I get it. This does suck. I can't imagine what I might do in this situation. Is there anything that we need to do today? Is there, do you just want to talk it out? Do we need to postpone this conversation? Like, just allowing this, it's really a matter of cracking the door open, right, Amber? Like, just gently nudging the door open and saying, hey, we can go through here if you want to, or if you want to stay right here, it's absolutely fine. Tell me what we're gonna do at this point. But it's only recently that I've heard the actual term toxic positivity, and it's a legit term now. You can Google it.
Google it.
Yeah.
Google it.
Google it.
It's science. Google it.
Google it. There you go. What I think is really interesting is that, why we react the way that we react with toxic positivity is because we're uncomfortable. And
right.
As coaches, we have to learn to be uncomfortable when dealing with clients, because we're privy to so much personal information. And that's a large part of, their transformation is we help them physically, sure, but it's actually processing situations and feelings and learning how to better manage them that helps their transformation along the way. So we have to get better at, one, active listening, two, just providing space for clients to be themselves in whatever manner that shows up to be. If they need to have an angry day and they need to curse it out, cool, I'll do it with you. If you need to cry, I'll sit here and wait with you. Like, whatever that needs to be, we need to give them the space to do that. Because if we don't, we'll hamper our relationship with them, but also, put them in a situation where they may not get to process their feelings, which can ultimately hamper their transformation, right? Like, I remember, I think, because you mentioned Girls Gone Strong Run, there was something that they talked about a while back about when you do hold on to a lot of feelings, and then when you do process them, like, your body physically changes because you've gotten rid of that excess stress from having to hide all of that.
100%.
Hey, Jonathan Goodman here. This podcast is made possible thanks to people like you. Here's a quick word from our sponsors. Are you still trying to pick your online training software? If so, let me make this easy for you. Go with PT Distinction. It's truly the best, and I'm not just saying that because they're our sponsor. We actually use PT Distinction for our own online fitness business, online trainer coaching, and we're really happy with it. From onboarding to programming to client communication, PT Distinction has everything you need to run your online fitness business smoothly, and it's super simple to use. Now, normally they offer a free 30-day trial, but as a listener of the Online Trainer Show, you get a free 60-day trial, so you can make sure you love them before spending a dime. If you want to deliver first-class service to your clients while reclaiming your time, then visit onlinetrainer.com/PTD to sign up for your free 60-day trial today. If you're a fitness nutrition coach that's looking to master online coaching so that you can help more people, make more money, and have more freedom, then the Online Trainer Academy can help. OTA gives you the framework, knowledge, and support to have predictable success with your online coaching business. From marketing to business development to how to assess and motivate your clients online, it is constantly updated and refreshed to keep up with a dynamic market. Not only that, OTA is proven. In 7 years, we've helped over 30,000 coaches in 87 countries go online. Truth is, we know what works, so you can get right to the success part. And in case you're busy working a full-time job or you're a full-time parent, know that you can go at your own pace. There's no deadlines to complete OTA, and you have lifetime access. That said, if you are ready to make a rapid change and finish the course in the next 8 to 12 weeks, you can expect to invest 3 to 5 hours each week on the program. And here's the best part: if you join today, you will make an extra $1,000 a month in 90 days, or I'll give you your money back. So if you're ready to build the fitness business you want and make the money you deserve, go to onlinetrainer.com/academy to enroll today. And I hope to see you in there.
A lot of professional coaching happens in discomfort, right? Like, Jonathan, you've made these statements in regards to the sales process, right? When you do it properly, you present that number, you say, so for the entire program, and that includes the training and the nutrition and the community, is going to be $1,200. There's discomfort right after you say that. The professional is able to rest in that discomfort of having put that number out there and wait for a response. In terms of the physical training, obviously there's a lot of discomfort there because people are doing things physically that make them uncomfortable. But it's the same in this situation. A lot of times, our tendency, like Amber said, our tendency to want to cheerlead is because we are deeply uncomfortable with the emotions that this person is processing, because we're not all touchy-feely emotional people as coaches. Some of us are.
So let me tell you a story about
science-based.
how I learned to build emotions as an adult.
Cannot wait.
Man, turn your volume up out there if you're listening. This should be good.
Well, I mean, I struggled a lot growing up, right? Because I don't really feel feelings, and I don't really feel emotions, and I'm pretty compartmentalized. And so I realized as an adult, particularly as a business person, as I started to lead teams and lead staff, and I should probably understand, if I can't feel what other people feel naturally, I should at least understand what they're feeling.
Right.
And at the beginning, at least feign commiseration. But eventually actually commiserate. And so the first step for me was getting I joke about it all the time, but I legit gave myself a textbook understanding of empathy, of emotions. And I'll tell you the story of how that started to come to be. Here's another travel story for you. This is when, so as the business started to grow a little bit, I basically ran away from the world. So long story short, I was with Allison beforehand, and I wasn't respecting her as much as anybody should respect a girlfriend. I wasn't doing anything negative to her. I just wasn't appreciating her as much as I should have appreciated. And I had started to really spiral downward. I was jealous. I was just a negative person. Like, I didn't like what I was becoming. And so that was actually the first year that I traveled, was me running away from the world to be able to live better within it. And so I ran away to Hawaii, was that first trip. And I went to the island of Oahu. And I spent 3 months on Oahu and basically figured out myself, spent a lot of time by myself. And it was a really difficult time. It sounds exotic, single guy, whatever, early 20s, mid 20s, runs away to Hawaii by himself, lives on the North Shore of Oahu, super. It was probably the hardest time in my life, because I just got myself, I broke up with Allison for that period of time. I separated myself from the world. You would be hard pressed to separate yourself from the world more than to go away to Hawaii, right? And then I moved to Maui after those 3 months and started to build myself back up. I had some more clarity of kind of who I wanted to become, what type of person I wanted to become, what type of thing I wanted to build and not build. Yeah, all of that. And I'm really happy that I took that time in that space to do that. When I was living in Maui, I was living in East Kaanapali, which is just one area of it. And beside that is a town called Lahaina. For anybody who's been there, Lahaina has this banyan tree that's the most amazing. It's like a block. It's the most amazing tree ever. And it has this canopy that's you sit underneath, and I take naps and I'd read under it, and I still dream of that tree because it's the most incredible tree. And there were some stores opposite the tree, and in behind there, I don't know if it's still there, but in behind there, as I was exploring one day, I found this little bookstore called Friends of the Library. And it was tucked in behind. You would have never known it existed. And what this store did is, I guess they were given or bought or whatever, these really old books from the library and resold them like dirt cheap. These books were 50 cents a dollar. And so I'd go there and I'd just pick up, I'd spend as long as I needed to and basically just go and pick up stuff off the shelf. And I came across this book one day, this little tattered version, I still have it, by a psychologist named Rollo May. And he wrote a book called Psychology and the Human Dilemma, which I recommend to anybody. I also recommend a book by him called The Courage to Create. But this book, Psychology and the Human Dilemma, that was the first real book that taught me what emotions were and what they weren't, and how an emotion is actually not an objective experience. Things are not intrinsically good or bad, right? Everything that we feel, this is what the book taught me, everything that we feel, we only feel in reference to something else we've already felt. Which is why you hear all of these platitudes, you must feel pain to feel joy. If, you haven't felt true love until you felt true hurt. And it's true because of all these things. So to your point on this toxic positivity, it's yeah, let it hurt. Sit with that. Because in doing that, you will now appreciate when things are good much more. Because a lot of us in this first world, very very beneficial, very positive. Our lives are actually really easy, depending on how they were. But then you look at historians talking about. I was listening to Yuval Noah Harari, who's the author of *Sapiens*. I was listening to him speak a couple of days ago, and I love his work. And *Sapiens*, I think, is one of the most important books of our time. But he's basically saying actually, the research kind of shows, and obviously we won't ever know, but cavemen actually were not much less happy than we are. They worked for 3 hours a day. They had family, they had community, right? And through all of our innovations as a society and all of these things to make our lives easier, it hasn't actually made us much more happy or much more joyful. And so what are we doing? Right. And one of the ways to begin to achieve that is, I think, to really understand, happiness, which we've spoken about on this podcast before, but also understand emotions. Like, why do we feel things? Why do we sit there sometimes and like, I feel really shitty, but like things are really good? I mean, I felt that. We all have. So anyway, I mean, this little book, if you're like me and you have trouble understanding feelings, or you feel like you have a hard time kind of connecting with your feelings or other people's feelings, um, I recommend this little book that I came across in the Friends of the Library on a random day in Lahaina when I was struggling as a human, and it's a special book.
That's the most Jonathan Goodman way to explain any topic that I've ever heard. It's got to start with travel. I mean, I'm I broke down the formula for a lifetime in Hallmark movies on a much earlier podcast. I'm starting to see a formulation for Jonathan Goodman reasoning. It starts with a remote location almost every time.
Right.
There's either some flora or fauna involved. There's either some animal that's accosting him, or some beautiful plant that is protecting him in every case. And then there's an isolated discovery of some location or person who is not mainstream, who provides the guidance. It's almost
Can
a
I talk to you
Jonathan
why?
Goodman hero's version, or hero's journey.
Can I talk to you why that is?
Yes, please.
Did you know, or start with this, did you know that the majority of car accidents happen within 20 minutes of somebody's home?
Absolutely. Much less aware.
You're much less aware. When you are comfortable in your surroundings, you become much less present in your surroundings.
Hmm.
You notice things a lot less. One of the most beautiful things about travel, about becoming uncomfortable in your surroundings, is you start to pay attention a lot more.
Right.
And when that happens, you get out of your own head, you daydream a lot less, which I think daydreaming is valuable, right? But you need both. You daydream a lot less. You start to notice things. Your brain starts to work in different ways. One of
Hmm.
the reasons why I look at travel and I look at living my life almost like seasons.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, in December, we're going away for 3 months, which, by the way, I have no idea how we're going to do this podcast when I'm gone, but we'll figure that out. But, but
We have
you
no
know,
idea how to do it while you're here either. So it'll be the
fair enough.
same.
Fair enough. And so, like, this idea of I go away for 3 months to a uncomfortable situation,
Right.
right, where I don't speak the language, because I'm so comfortable where I am now, and I love it, and I love what I'm able to get from that. But I wouldn't want that 12 months of the year,
Right.
because it would be very hard to maintain presence. It would be very hard to notice a lot of these little beautiful things. I mean, how many, like, you talk about this podcast and all the stories I tell on it, right? Like, I mean, a lot of these things are just stuff you might not otherwise notice, like living in Uruguay, the guy selling band-aids on the bus.
Right.
I mean, what an amazing, instructive story. We're on the bus on, Avenida Julio de Jefe Ocho November or something. We're like, those streets, the street names in Uruguay are all full names or full dates or a
Right.
combination of both.
Right.
And as a result, the acronyms of them are almost always the same, or there's a lot of the same. And so the maps always shorten the names because there's not enough room. So
Right.
you look at a map and you have no idea where you are because it's all the same name. So we were just lost constantly in Montevideo. But we got, so we get on a bus, and this guy got on the bus, like, walked right by the driver and started selling band-aids, one off. Band-aid in Spanish is trita, so he's like, trita, 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 right? And I was like, what the hell? Like, people in New York, like, sell candy on the bus, whatever, right? It's like,
Right.
how is this guy selling band-aids? Like, all of a sudden a woman calls him over and buys a band-aid. Like, at least 4 women bought band-aids, and then he gets off at the next stop, goes to the other side of the road and takes it back, and he was just like doing loops. And why? Like, well, Montevideo was a very old city with a lot of cobblestone. And the women, societally, all dress up to the nines all day, every day, which means they're always wearing heels, which means they always have blisters all over their feet. So this dude, at the end of the day, sells the absolute perfect product at the perfect time in the perfect location to the perfect person and crushes it. Like, what an incredible, instructive story. If you lived there, though, you probably wouldn't notice, like, oh, that's really like interesting why this is happening.
Right.
That's what it brings up, right?
Drop in awareness.
Yeah.
So bring it back around in a circle because we've got mere moments left. Amber touched
seconds left.
Mere seconds left. Amber touched on sort of holding space for those clients. Can
I don't think I spoke about the topic at all today, did I?
No, but we learned something.
Amber looks up to the sky.
I had to think about it for a second. You did.
You did.
Roundabout.
And you took it to another place of education. I think, and I'm not being facetious here. I think both are valuable. I don't think that. First of all, people know this podcast is a train wreck. Let's just start there. Like they know better than to look at the topic and then think, oh, I'm only going to hear about that for 50 minutes. So,
and if I'm really going to learn something valuable today.
If you think that out there and you are in some manner chastising us for what happened on this podcast, this is either your first episode or you're in denial. It's one of the two things. So I refuse to apologize for the random nature of it because there is education in what Jonathan said, and we touched on the topic a bit. But second to that, Amber, what kind of actionable things can we think of between us? Like three things that we can say when your client's just going through it, man. Like, I know one thing you said already is just sort of holding space. Like, if you want to summarize that part of it, like, number one, I would say hold space. I'm good for a second thing, I think, and maybe we can put our heads together for a third really quickly.
Sure. So I think the big thing is to, sympathize or empathize depending on your own experiences, but not to talk a whole lot. Like, you can ask questions or sympathize and empathize, but really let them process however they need to process. And you can certainly ask them, what do you need from me in this moment? Right. I can be here and we can just sit and stare at the wall together, or, we can play guitar online, like whatever, like you need from me in this moment, like, let's do that. And we'll tackle it together.
So one is sort of just hold the space, empathize, understand. Two is actually get the information for the next step from that person. What do we need to do today that best honors where you are right now? And I think that a number three thing that I like to do is sort of compartmentalize it unless the client wants to discuss it again in a further session. Like I probably will be less likely to check in the next time that I have a conversation with that client. I don't want to bring it back open. If they mention it, I'm here for it, but I'm not going to say, oh, you were doing really bad last time that we talked by phone. Are things better? Or like, I want to respect their autonomy in how they want to deal with it going forward. So probably at the end of that first conversation, when I say, what do we do next? What are we going to do today? How do we need to handle this? I may end that part of the conversation with something along the lines of, do you feel like we need to bring this back up the next time we talk, or the next time we interact? Should we just go on about our business as normal? What's more comfortable for you? And then follow through on that the next time. Because some people don't want to be checked on incessantly. Some people are very specific about how much emotion that they show. This may have slipped through because it's built up so much. And I don't want to put the client on the spot emotionally the next time that I have interaction with them about this particular subject. But I do want them to know that I'm available for that. And one other caveat, Amber, and I don't know if just mentioning this, guys, we are not mental health professionals, right? So we always talk about scope of practice here. Like, there's only so much you can do, and if you find yourself in the hole of becoming their personal therapist, you have to set a boundary here too. Maybe not in a harsh way, maybe something like, I hear you and I'm concerned for you. I wish I was better equipped to take you through this. Unfortunately, I'm just not. So, how can we collaborate to find a better source of this type of coaching for you, so that you can holistically sort of get everything you need from a coaching process. I'm afraid I'm going to fall short in this area. Also, you've got 3 more squats. Something because people will talk you to death. They'll pause that workout on you, and I'm not here for it as a coach. Like, you're not going to get me to lay off the workout, But I do want to hold space. Does that seem reasonable, Amber?
Yeah, we do have to be careful. I mean, we listen. Like that is
right.
The extent of what we can do is to provide the space to be wherever they are at the moment, but we certainly should not really be dispensing advice by any means, but just give them the option. Like, if they're having a bad day, let them talk about it. That's fine.
Right.
Just, be careful there for sure. So that was a really good point.
Yeah, it's dicey. So I mean, this has been a breakthrough episode of the Online Trainer Show. If you're catching the tail end, which I don't know why you would, it's because you probably pushed the button to start it. But if you started it and you're somehow catching the tail end of a podcast that you manually started on your own device, go back to the beginning, because Jonathan Goodman talked about feelings today, and it's like Haley's comment: we don't know when it's coming back again in this lifetime. You've witnessed an astronomical miracle today here on the Online Trainer Show. We solved all your problems once again in about 15 minutes or less. We're happy. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Every time.
Yeah. So show notes can be found at onlinetrainer.com/podcast. I said it right this time. I got chastised for the last time when I messed it up, and I deserved it. One more thing. Shout out to Ansley. Ansley, I did her podcast earlier today, and I told her I'd give her a shout out. Ansley Koff, I think, is her last name. She's one of OTH students. She also runs a podcast. So
it's
I just
Knopf.
told her I mentioned.
It's Knopf.
No, the N is silent. The N is silent.
The N is silent and the P is silent?
Yeah, it's Koff. Yeah.
How do you have a last name that's 5 letters long and have 2 of them be silent?
It's called swag, Jonathan. Get some, maybe. Just because everybody pronounces all your consonants and vowels in your name doesn't mean that you get the right to judge other people who have a little bit more name swag than you do, sir. Jealousy doesn't look good on you, Jonathan. It affects your complexion.
I'd be getting name swag shamed on this episode.
We run the gamut from feelings to name splaining and name shaming here on the podcast. We do
name
it all.
Name swag shaming.
The jealousy really corrupts your beard, Jonathan. It doesn't look good on you, brother. So we'll see you guys next time for another exciting episode of the Online Trainer Show. Jingle, jingle, jingle. This is the Online Trainer Show. Trainer Show. Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.